Hey Fred, hey. Welcome back to my channel where we talk about all things bookish and book talk related. We even discuss books that I think that maybe you should or shouldn't read. That's just my opinion. If you want to read them, by all means, read those books, boo. But if that's something that you're into, grab your nice little blankie, your little bookish blanket, get your water because we need to drink water, okay? Stay hydrated. Talking to you, yes, you. Talking to you, you need to stay hydrated. And let's get into it. Okay. So let's talk about it, okay? Because this is like a big thing I know of on Book Talk. I feel like every so often they keep bringing up the fact of acotar. I know. Is it worth reading? The reason why we're bringing this up is because it was just hinted at that SJM just dropped I think she said her first round of editing for acotar book 6. And we're going to sit down and talk about if you need to read all 806 of these books to understand book 6. Okay? Okay. Anyhow, I read all of the books. I own them. They're on the second shelf right here. I own all of her books. And me personally, if I had to rate them, I would say Crescent City is 1, acotar is 2, Throne of Glass is 3, if I had to rate them. If I had to rate them by series, like 1 through 5 stars, I would give Crescent City a 3.5. I would give acotar a 3, and I would give Throne of Glass a 1. Now, wait. Hear me out, okay? Because people are probably gonna like crucify me, but that's okay. I'm okay with stirring the pot. Stir the pot. Sorry. The ADD kicked in for a minute. Anyways, I guess my big thing is for me, Throne of Glass just dragged on and on and on. And by the time like the story got good, we was in book 5. Yes, you heard me. Book 5. Why did we need to do why did we need 5 books of backstory to get to the meat and potatoes? I was distraught. And then on top of that, they said when she first started writing Throne of Glass, she was in high school. And you could definitely tell it. Not so much because the writing is bad or anything. It's just the characters were so immature. So immature, okay? And then it wasn't even all the characters. It was mainly one. And I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. Chol, as I like to call him because I didn't understand how to say his name. He got on my black nerves. And yes, I can say that I am a black woman. I will say that he got on my black nerves. Okay? He did because, and listen, this is going to be spoilers. So if you don't want that, go read those books if you want to and then come back. If you don't want to, stay here because we going to talk about it. He was over here mad at Selena, aka Aelin Sardothian, the Queen of Terrasen. Anyway, she got some 108 names, but we ain't want to talk about that right now. He got mad at her because she was out here unaliving people and doing the things, okay? Because she was an assassin. Also, if you're an assassin, why are you telling everybody you're an assassin? I think that defeats the purpose. Sidebar. That took me out for most of the book. Like, I'm an assassin. Shh. But she tells everyone. She out here doing things, because that's what she was hired to do. And he was mad at her for her background in being an assassin and taking out the bad people. But his king was just murking people for the fun of it. And he was okay with that. Like, come on, come on. Like, no, no ma'am, no ma'am, no ham, no turkey. That made me so upset because I was like, what's the difference? They're both doing it. It's just because you serve the king. You're like so high. Get off your high horse. He got on my nerves. And then on top of that, like, there was a point where everybody was getting along. You know, I thought there was going to be like a little bit of a love triangle between Dorian and Chol and Aelin, and then it wasn't. Then it sort of seemed like it, and then she was like avoiding Dorian. It was weird. It was weird. But then he gets mad at her because he finds out that she's an actual half fairy. And I guess he wanted her to have all this magic to take down the bad. I don't know. His character arc just was horrible. By the time I made it to book 7, which was Tower of Dawn, I completely skipped it. Completely did not read that book because I dislike him that much. And I've noticed that SJM has certain characters that just itch my teeth. They itch my teeth. And he was one of them. He got on my last nerves. And I said, I am not reading this book. So I went and found people and spoke to my friend who read it. And I made them tell me everything I needed to know. So that way I could read that last and final book. And when I tell you, when I finished the book, I literally sat down and I was like, that was it. We did all of that for this. I feel like we could have got everything she wanted done in 3 books. We didn't need 8. We didn't. I just felt like there was a lot. It's not funny. It's not funny. But the MMC, when he finally gets introduced, he like punches her in the face. And I'm like, it's not funny. Okay, it's not. But that took me out because I was like, well, that was kind of out of nowhere. That series to me was just so, there was so much happening. And then one of the side characters, Nehemia, I actually liked her. And then she got murked off. And I'm like, she was the only person of color until you get to like book 7. The way that those people read, they read like they were of color. And I'm only saying that, I know I didn't read book 7, but they were also in book 8. So that's why I'm like, I know what I'm talking about. I just didn't understand why we needed to kill her off, you know, but go off, I guess. But then, you know, and I'm not telling you how because I did not read them in the order that I'm talking about. I'm reading them in the order that I feel like trash to pretty decent. So yes, Throne of Glass, I would rate a 1. I didn't enjoy it. It was 8 books too long. Actually, it was, let's see, there's 8 books in total. It was 4 books too long. We could have got what we needed to get through if we would just shortened it. Also, it's not because most of it was YA. I have no problems with a book not having smut in it. What I have problems with is when the characters are super immature, because I feel like not every young person is immature. So I don't know why we have to write every character immature. But when they're so immature that they're agitating, can't get into it. Can't do it. So technically for me, I don't normally read YA. I do have a few YA series that was recommended to me by some of my book friends. And here's the thing, and my best friends too. But they haven't steered me wrong yet. So I feel like I'm going to be all right. I'm all right because they've given me hit after hit after hit after hit. So I feel like we're okay with that. However, like I said, something about Throne of Glass just itched my teeth and I didn't like it. There I said. I read acotar, and I read acotar at the hype of when acotar was like, you should read acotar. Like it was back and forth. But here's the funny thing. So I was all about, like, at first I was like, okay, let me read this book. Let me read it. And then I said, no, I'm not gonna read it. Y'all are hyping it up too much. And by that point on Book Talk, I was like, y'all keep hyping up this book. What if it's not good? Because I had so many people hyping these books up to me. And I'm like, yo, some of them were trash. So I didn't read acotar right when it was like at its highest peak on Book Talk, but I did know about it because, again, I was scared because a lot of the books that I have on my shelves were books that were so hyped or overhyped on Book Talk, and I would read them, and some of them were good, but a lot of them were misses. Like, I could sit back now and be like, that wasn't a good book. It just wasn't as great as everyone made it out to be. So I was really nervous in getting into acotar because I was like, this is probably going to be absolute garbage. And so I came across a video about a totally different book that had to do with fairies. And the girl was trashing this book. I mean, she was dogging this book. Come to find out, what she was even talking about was not what the book was about. And the author made a video. So I ended up going through that particular series. And that's what I fell in love with. I said, oh, I like fairies. Okay, period, I like fairies because of her. So then I was just like, okay, let me give acotar a shot. And a good friend of mine, Heather, if you see this, love you, boo. She said, you know what, go read it. You should read it. You should read it. You will love it. And I was like, okay. I read that first book, and half of that first book, I was like, this is just Beauty and the Beast, but told in the worst way. It really was. I was not a fan of the first half of the book, but like the second half was really good. It really was. And I'm going to tell you how my feelings were when I was reading it versus now, okay? So I make it through all the books. I hated Nesta. To me, Nesta didn't have no redeeming qualities, even after I read book 5. I was like, she's still trash. But that's besides the point. I was like, oh my God, you should read acotar. I love this series, yada, yada, yada. And I was all about acotar, and I was on that train, and I was throwing out my own theories, and I was like, yes, acotar. And then I sat back and I read other books. And I was like, it was a decent series. All the other things that I have read, I'm like, it was okay, but it wasn't nothing to be so overhyped the way that it is. And the reason why I say it's overhyped is because people are delving so deeply into this lore of acotar that they literally, every other book that they read is compared to it. And it's very irritating because not just because a book has fairies in it doesn't mean you need to compare it. Also, you need to look at when certain books came out, because sometimes the books that they're comparing to, I'm like, well, this book was out a long time before acotar. It's just the girlies are just now finding it, and now they want to, hype it up to something that it's not. I read a series called Trial of the Sun Queen by Anisha J. Tooley, and it has fairies in it. It does. But it is so much better than acotar. There was a thought process put behind it. The characters are well written. The meat and potatoes is like from the jump to the end. Yes, you have some love in there, but I'm going to be honest with you. There is sort of a smut scene in book 1, but you don't get nothing until book 3. Like, Nisha made you work for that. However, even though it was a slow burn, you were so engrossed in the story itself that you don't even notice. You don't notice anything else going on. You're just trying to figure out, okay, how are we doing this? And how do these people play into it? And who's good, who's bad? And, you're just trying to figure out all these different things. So, and that to me, as the girlies like to say, that was my Roman Empire. I will talk you to death about that book. I genuinely loved that series. And then on top of that, I got to meet one of the narrators who narrated the book. And he narrated some other books that are really out there, but that wasn't even my favorite book. My favorite book, of course, like I'm telling you, was Trial of the Sun Queen. That entire series was 4 books in the series. It was just so good. Like, I want the book trophies. I've asked for them for Christmas. But people were comparing acotar to that series, and they were saying that it was a knockoff, this, that, and third. That you compare that, like both books, is that there's fairies. Other than that, their fairies don't match. There's nothing that is similar to me. And again, I have read both series and I'm just like, so for me, acotar is mid and not everything needs to be compared to it. And I think that's what drives me absolutely insane. On to Crescent City. I enjoyed Crescent City. I enjoyed the futuristic part of it. I liked the lore of it. But the reason why I'm not giving it like a 5 or even a 4 is because there was one character, Danica, is that her name? Something like that. How is it she died in the first book and somehow was still being brought up all the way up to book 3? And you're thinking, okay, these books, they might be short. No! These books were like 700 pages or more per book, okay? And Danica was making an appearance in every book, okay? Like, I'm like, didn't this girl die? How she still out here running amok, okay? She was running amok, come on. Okay, she really was. And I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna need this to not be a thing. And then on top of her character kind of being annoying because it's like she's dead, so why are we still talking about her type thing? Bryce's love for her, there for a hot minute, I thought we were reading a sapphic romance. I mean, if that's what you like, that's what you like. I'm not mad at it. It's just, it was weird, like her awkward love for her. This was done on a, to me, on, how do I put, like an awkward, embarrassing, uncomfortable extent, but that's just me. But it wasn't just their two characters' friendship. It was like Ethan and all the, it was a lot. It was a lot to deal with. But like the fight scenes, period. The like the lead up and the build up to other things was really good, but I felt like some of it was a touch too long. Like we could have done without like 300 pages in all the books. The first book was really good though. The first book was, you know, done well, but as we were going through the story, things just started like, I don't know, I felt like we were going like 700 different places. And I didn't like the fact that we were at 400 different point of views just to all come to the same ending. Some of that was a bit much, but again, I will give it, you know, a 3 point, an acotar, a 3 point, you know, like 5. And then I give acotar a 3. Because at the end of the day, the series was decent. And of course I told y'all what my rating was for Throne of Glass. Don't shoot me. Anyways, everybody saying that you need to read it in a specific order in order to understand this, that, and the third. And I'm going to be honest with you. As somebody who read all 3 series, I don't understand why you would need to do all this, like, almost like they're wanting you to do, like, research. Like this is a school project. Yes, there are certain aspects of it, but I have to wonder if we're not just like maybe theorizing like too much. Like maybe we're thinking about it too hard. One thing linking Throne of Glass to acotar, and then there was an actual somewhat of a plot line linking acotar to Crescent City. And then according to SJM herself, all 3 stories are happening at the same time. So if all 3 stories are happening at the same time because they're all part of the same universe or just on different, you know, whatever, then some of these theories that these people are thinking of make no sense to me. So I'm just nervous that by the time book 6 comes out, how are we putting all 3 of these together? Because Throne of Glass was done and finished with. I don't know how much more she could bring out of that. I felt like the story was done. I didn't think I needed any more. Crescent City, you can still go, I guess, somewhere with it. Where, I don't exactly know. But I'm trying to figure out how those 2 would make book 6 like this big mind-blowing book, you know? I mean, again, there is something linking acotar to Crescent City. There's a big plot. And the plot is, again, spoiler alert. If you don't want to know this, leave, go read it, and then come back. Or stay here if you don't care. Anyways, the Dawn Court was mentioned in acotar. And while you're reading it, you're like, okay, what happened to the Dawn Court? Well, then when you get to Crescent City, you find out what happened to the Dawn Court. Those people basically found like a wormhole, ended up on this other place, and that's how you got what you got. Okay. I mean, that's pretty cool. But at the end of the day, what if all these theories that people are coming out with, and, you know, Team Azrael, Team Lucian, Team whatever, and then SJM said herself there's a big betrayal and yada, yada, yada. But let's just say that nobody's theories was right. And everybody's like, oh, you got to read all these books to get to this part. What if none of that has nothing to do with anything? Like, you know what I'm saying? So I am excited to finally get acotar over and done with. I feel like it was a long, drawn-out series. And I think the reason why I think that is because books 1 through 3 were all told from Feyre's POV and a little bit of Rhysand sprinkled in. And then all of a sudden we jumped to third person. And then we got Nesta's story. And I felt like Nesta's story was unnecessary. But again, that's because I didn't like Nesta. And the only reason why I read that book is because I fell in love with Cassian from the moment that he was introduced into the story. But still, that book and that storyline itself was just, it was just a lot. But I just feel like we're all hyping up book 6 when there might not be a reason to hype it up. Maybe she's going to have something else come out. I hope not. Just because I hope we end it. I hope we end it and that it's over and done with. Because I don't know where else she could go with this. Because Throne of Glass didn't end on a cliffhanger. I feel like we were done with when we were done with it. Crescent City, maybe there was a little something you could probably, you know, pinch out of it. But again, it kind of ended like, you know, it was done with. I don't know where she could go with that, because I know that there's like a big bad that is in the end of book 6, you know, that they're still hunting for. And then there's some other little snippets that you read in Crescent City and Throne of Glass. So it's like, are these princes not exactly dead and they somehow found their way to acotar, or what is happening? How are we going to bring all this together? And if we are going to bring it together, is it going to be worth the hype? Is it going to be the book that literally just like stomps the whole series out of the park? You know what I mean? Or is it going to be mid? Because I ain't going to hold y'all. Throne of Glass, not good. acotar, all right. Crescent City, decent. So I don't know. I don't know where she could go with that. I hope that it goes somewhere good. I do. I hope that there is something said about it. I do know that as for me personally, this will be the last SJM book that I purchase. Just on principle alone, there was some things that were brought to my attention, especially after I read, after I had already purchased all the books, after I had read acotar. There were some things brought to my attention, and it was just the way that it was presented, and there was no apology. I'm not saying that I won't ever purchase her books again. If she ever came out and apologized for what she did, and there was like a change in behavior and the post was taken down, then yes, we could talk about buying another book. But as for me personally, I will not be purchasing another SJM book after this is over with, because I need to finish out the series so I can say I have it. And then after that, what she does is what she does. But until that post is taken down and there's an apology made to the community and to Breonna Taylor's family, I cannot condone anything else from her. Yeah, that is it. That is all. Again, me personally, I don't know why you need to read all these books. There are so many people that are talking about Throne of Glass, acotar, and Crescent City that you can pretty much find out what you need to find out before you read book 6. Um, Again, I will eat those words if this book just comes out being phenomenal. Okay, I will eat those words and I will apologize to everyone. But as for right now, no. I don't feel like you need to read all these books. Again, you're not missing much. There's literally just I genuinely don't know because everybody keeps, how do I put this? Mainly from what I've gathered, and this is after reading all 3 series, a lot of what is said online is what is said online. It's just theories from the fan base. It's not even confirmed from SJM herself. So unless it's confirmed from her herself, and I mean, like, you would need to go look at her things and her interviews. To me, I don't think you need to read all 3 series just because, on principle. If you want to read all 3, I recommend the what is it called? The graphic audio for acotar and Crescent City. If I saw correctly, graphic audio was coming out with the graphic audio version of Throne of Glass. I would personally, if you're going to read Throne of Glass, I would do that version for the simple fact of just reading it alone and just listening to the one narrator was absolutely boring. I read it all, you know, I physically read it all, but then I heard some snippets of the narrator, and it just was my opinion. Take what I say with a grain of salt because reading is subjective, and you might like that. It's just, for me personally, it was boring, and sometimes I think I have a touch of ADD, and it just wasn't holding my attention. But I did make it through. I made it through. That whole SJM saga took up like 3 months of my life. And the reason why it took me so long is because I would read one series, take a break and read something else. You know, read other books in between. And then I read the other series, and then I read something else. And then I read the last series, and then I, you know, did what I needed to do. But again, like I said, just do your research. See what SJM says herself, and then see if you want to read all 3 series. Like I said, for me personally, I don't see where you needed to. I didn't see where they were all that great. But like I said, I did like Crescent City more than I liked the other 2. I can see how, you know, acotar and CC, you know, are going to have some things that are together. But I'm trying to figure out how we're going to bring those 2 together. But don't just go off of fan theories, because again, unless it is confirmed by the author herself, that's all that they are. Theories. We don't know where she's taking us to on this series. She could not take it anywhere, and you're just going to have to deal with it. But I digress. If you like this video and you want some more books that you might not think you should read or anything like that, drop it down in the comments below. Also, tell me what you're reading as of right now. I am reading, what is it called? I just got through reading Summer People. I'm getting ready to finish Dungeon Crawler Carl. And I'm reading Accidentally, because the way it's spelled is like axe, like, you know, an axe. Accidentally Married. So that is what I'm currently reading. I have a whole stack of books over here that I need to get, like, I need to get on it over here, okay? Because we ain't gonna talk about my stack of shame. We've already done that. We're not doing it again. But yes, drop it down in the comments below what you're reading, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.